here's day 2. I'm still waiting for them to come and cut these pockets. We still haven't done that yet, so I guess I'll just put that capping on the other side and snap that out. I would have done that yesterday, but I ran out of Tyvek. I had to go get some more. So I'll put the rest of my Scylla gasket on, poly, and then this, and then I can put my OSB on and snap that side out. And then I guess I could joist that front part, because those beam pockets are in the right spot. I checked them. Okay, I got this side all on now. So I'll snap this side out the same way I did that other side, and then I'll mark the pockets and cut them out. And for this line on here, I want to make sure it stays parallel with that line over there. So what I'm going to do is, this is a 5-foot jog right there, so I'll measure in off that line, come in 5 feet. I'll mark it over there. Then I'll do the same thing at the very back, and I'll run the string line all the way up to this point here and make sure it hits that 5-foot mark up there. Because it all should come one line straight off of that line. So if you measure 5 feet across and snap it straight across, it should stay parallel with the other line. So I'll mark it here, my 1 5/8. And then I'll hook on over here. I'll make sure I'm 1 5/8 on this line. Mark 5 feet. Which should put me 1 5/8 in here. Actually, I'll mark it 5 foot 1 5/8. I'll just make sure I'm on the 1 5/8 line here. And 5'1" and 5/8. And then I'll do the same at the back over here. Mark the 5'1" and 5/8 off of this line, and I should be able to snap it straight across, and it should all work out good, hopefully, if the concrete's good. So I have my 3 lines marked. I'll put a nail in this mark, hook my chalk line over, bring it over there, and see how it works out. So I have my chalk line hooked way at the back there. It's on a nail. I'm going to put it on this nail here, pull it tight, and then I'll see if it's on the line over there. So it's hooked on this line now all the way. Let's see how it is. I'm right on that line, that 1 5/8 line right there. Let's say 5 foot 1 5/8 because it's coming off of here. 5 foot 1 5/8 to that line, and it lines up perfect. Take this off and I'll snap it. This part of my chalk, or this part of my line doesn't have much chalk in it, so I'm just going to re-snap it with this part of my line, and then I can measure off of this one. It'll be 20 feet over there minus the 1 5/8. Now up at the front here, it has a 1 foot jog, so to snap this out, I'm going to start by snapping this back one out. I'll go 1 5/8, and then I'll go up at the front and go 1 foot 1 5/8. And then I'll snap that right across, and I'll check what it is here just to make sure it's not too far in or too far over, because if this thing wasn't perfectly plumb, then it would be out a little bit. But I want to keep my floor good to the lines. So I'll snap this one across, and then I can measure off of that line up a foot. That'll give me that mark, and then I can do the same thing over there, measure up a foot, and then that'll give me this front mark. So I have my 1 5/8 mark here. I made another 1 5/8 mark here. This is just for a reference. And then over here, I marked 1 foot 1 5/8. So I'm going to snap the line across from here to here, and it should hit that 1 5/8 line in the middle. We'll see if it does or not. So I got my line hooked on over there. I can pull it to my 1 5/8 line, and it looks like it's right on that mark. So we're good. So that's the further back line snapped. So now I'll just measure off that corner. I'll measure up a foot from that line, and then I'll measure up a foot off of this line from here, and that should put me 1 5/8 in off of here. Now to get this line, it's a 13-foot jog right here, so I'll make sure that I'm on 1 5/8 over there, and then I'll just come in 1 5/8 back off the 13-foot. I'll mark it here and then mark it here, and I can snap that. Or I could just mark it here and then use a 2-foot framing square, but I'll just mark it off the line. So this front's all snapped. All I gotta do now is snap the back, and then I can lay out the joists and then cut my beam pockets in. So I have the pockets all cut out on this side. I'm gonna have to shim them up a little bit because I have an 11/7/8 inch beam and my pocket is 12.5. So I need to cut a piece of beam 5/8 of an inch and put it in the bottom, and then the beam will be flush up to here. And then it'll sit over to there. I'm gonna have to shim up all these pockets. They're all about 12.5. So I'll go get my beams. There are all these 20-footers back here. I'll pre-cut them, and then I can use the cutoff piece to cut my 5/8 shim out of. Grab them over here. You're wondering how you crack these bands without a pair of tin snips. You can either put your hammer in like this and go like this, or you can just take your claw and go like this. So I'll take these over there. So these beams are all 3-plies except for the front one. It'll be a 2-ply. So I'm gonna get the 3-plies up here, get them nailed together, and then I'll stand it up and slide it out and drop it in the pockets. Actually, I was wrong. These beams aren't 11/7/8, they're 9.5. So I'm gonna have to cut my shim at 3 inches. So I have the first 3 beams marked. I'm going to cut them to 19 foot 2.5. That's leaving about a 1/2 inch of space. You don't want to cut it too tight, because if you don't get it perfectly in straight and you get one side in the pocket and then the other one sitting up on an angle, you'll never get it in. It's really hard. So you just cut it a little short and it'll drop right in there. Now I'll take some of these cut-offs and I need to make a 3-inch shim. So I'm gonna measure out 3 inches this way, cut it across here, and I think that pocket is 7.5 inches wide, so I'll cut it 7.5 inches this way, and I'll cut 2 of them and then put them in that pocket. So I'll take 2 of these, 3 inches by, I went 7.25, keep it a little small, and I'll nail those. Now I'll put this into the pocket. And now that should be 9.5 inches, so the beam would come up flush to the top of this sheet. 9.5. So I'll do that for all these beam pockets. So I'll nail these 3 beams together, make sure they're flush on the end, flush on both sides, and then do about 4 nails every 16 inches. Look at that gun, shoots right into this beam. That DeWalt won't do that. I like to start at the end and then go to the middle, put a row of nails in the middle, make sure you're good, and then go back to the end. Go to this end, flush it up, and then I'll put the other ply on. gotta be pushed over a bit. Nice and flush. So I got those two nailed together. You can see all my nails here, but I want to put the third ply on. I don't want to put it right on top and then re-nail it again, because you won't be able to see these nails from the other side, and I want the inspector to be able to see those nails. So I'm going to flip this over and then put the third ply on top, and then I can nail it up, and then you'll see the nails from both sides. You'll see all the heads. Okay, these three are all nailed together. I'll put it in the first beam pocket. This part is easier with two people, and you can just each slide your end out and drop it in, but you can still do it by yourself. I'll show you how. So I got it right over to the beam pocket, but I'm gonna nail this block on here, just a couple nails, and then I'm gonna slide it over so it sits right over top of the pocket. So it's just over top of it, and this block is holding it up. So when I carry that end of the beam over and drop it, as soon as it hits the bottom of the pocket, the force will just rip these nails off and it'll just drop right in. And there's the first one in, then it'll be a 2-ply beam in the other pocket, and they'll both have a steel post going down to that concrete pad. Well, I think I'm going to end this episode here. It's time for a beer.